There are three franchises in life that I will always take off of work for. A new Resident Evil, a new Devil May Cry, and a new Doom. I love Doom. I've been hooked on these games, playing hours on hours on hours on hours since I first saw gameplay of Brutal Doom fresh out of high school in 2012? In my Let's Play days, I did countless playthroughs of level packs, and while they always received less views than other stuff due to the nature of the games being so old, I did not care one bit. I'd rather have fun playing what I like than chasing views. When Doom 2016 came out and revitalized the franchise, playing through that game from start to finish was one of the greatest gaming experiences of my life. And with a new Doom game on the horizon after 5 years of waiting for a sequel to Doom Eternal, I figured I'd go ahead and go through all the mainline Doom games and work my way to Doom the Dark Ages when it comes out. I debated for a long time on how I should do this, split Doom 1 and Doom 2 into separate videos. I mean, I haven't played much of vanilla Doom since 2014, because it's pretty aged. I always use Brutal Doom, so do I play with that? Well, Bethesda recently has made it pretty easy of a choice for me. The new remaster bundles Doom 1 and Doom 2, as well as most of the official expansions for both, all together in one package for pretty cheap. Everything you could need to get your feet wet in early Doom games. And as much as I really want to play these games on modern source ports with all the improvements that come with that, I ultimately made the decision to use the official re-release for this video for pretty much one reason. Consoles inarguably make up the vast majority of the gaming market. PC is catching up a bit these days owing to way better ports of games than ports of 2000s to 2010s, when a lot of game devs did not respect it as a platform and had a lot of stigma surrounding it, some of which are honestly kinda true. But in the grand scheme of things, most people would still rather buy a PS5 for $500 as opposed to buying an RTX 4070 for $500 before you even start thinking about the $300 fucking CPU, the RAM, and all the other components as well. So if I present Doom modded to perfection on PC, it's kind of disingenuous to the expectations you need to have going into the game unmodded on most of the platforms it's sold on right now. So I cast aside my millennial needs for you guys. I took one for the team. I did it for the dogs, for the bros, and I hope you appreciate it. There will be spoilers for Doom 1 and Doom 2's story, and out of respect for John Romero, I will be including Sigil and treating those two expansions as canon to the lore, so there's your warning for that. Also, as another warning, while I love classic Doom, I don't think it's perfect, and while it is hella fun and does still punch hella hard today, I don't think that it is all rainbows and sunshine. And that is the reason other games like Duke Nukem were able to come out and offer some pretty good arguments to trade up. If you're one of those older guys that gets very pissy about criticism of things that are old, or when things that are old get called old, then this ain't the video for you, because I don't give a fuck. Alright, so let's set some ground rules. I love the homie Civi 11, but this ain't no damn pro Doom video. I've been playing Doom since I was 16 years old. I'm 28 now, and I can't tell you where all the secrets are. I know some of them, but if you held a gun to my head and asked where's the secret exit to the Wolfenstein levels, I'm a dead man. You might as well do what you gotta do. So don't expect MLG Pro Doom with my eyes closed or something. Also, I don't give a fuck what G-Man Live says, I am not playing through this shit on ultraviolence. Not because it's necessarily too hard or something like that. In my younger days, I would just select it without batting an eye. But now that I'm older, with less patience, an addiction to sleep medication, and an anger management problem, I don't have the fucking patience for it. Sigil puts fucking cyber demons on every level on ultraviolence, so even John Romero tells people to stay away from it, and I would rather fight Prime Mike Tyson in a boxing match while drunk than deal with ultra-violence chain gunner monster closets in Doom 2, or I might literally punch a hole through this shiny new 4K TV I just bought. You might be thinking, wow, this guy could use some therapy, and you'd be right. But that shit is expensive, so instead we're just gonna kill demons in hell to make me feel better. Right, so Doom's story is a bit bare bones in how it's told to you. Word on the street is they fired the guy who wrote the story in something called the Doom Bible because he didn't want to make the kind of game the rest of id Software wanted to make. So a lot of shit got thrown out. I'm a bit flustered on how to structure talking about the story because if you're coming off the modern Doom games, you're probably going to be a bit disappointed in how it's presented, because it's really just a wall of text after every act, or what the game calls episodes, and that's pretty much it. You know, when people talk about the original Doom games, you always hear, oh, it's the dad of all first-person shooters. And it's easy to get the wrong idea about that due to how the gaming landscape has moved on. When you hear that as a person who grew up playing any game from like 2001 to 2025, in your head, you're probably walking into Doom with the expectations of what Half-Life is. A lot of you have probably never played Half-Life or don't know what it is, so maybe that reference is lost on you. But those of you who have, hopefully you'll get what I mean when I say that. NPCs that talk, cohesive, straightforward, linear map design, the kind of cinematic story that's become commonplace in gaming today. The earliest example of that I can think of, like the first-person shooter genre, is Half-Life. That's really the birth of the definitive first-person shooter groundwork that's in every game's DNA today. It's a logical train of thought to fall into if you don't know any better, but that's not what you're getting here. The first Doom game came out in like 1993, like 3 years before I was ever even conceived. So what you need to keep in mind when it comes to this game is that there aren't really any rules to follow yet. So that makes it a bit complicated to write a script for this game in comparison to how I would usually do it. Since the story is so simple, what I'm going to do is we'll cover the first episode story-wise, as best I understand it, talk about the gameplay, and then loop back around to the story to finish the game out, taking it episode by episode while I tell you what I do or don't like about each one. The first episode, Knee Deep in the Dead, starts us at the beginning of Doomguy's journey, our ass-kicking face of the franchise. Doomguy is a space marine for the UAC. Don't ask me what that shit stands for, I forgot. But in the future, humanity needs energy, resources, blah blah blah, you know, the basic futuristic plot setup. Well, the UAC decides to set up a base on Phobos, a moon orbiting Mars. It's a common misconception that this game is set on Mars, mostly because the story has been remade twice in 2 Doom games and 1 film, which all change the location of Mars itself instead of some weird moon by it. In retrospect, they probably should have just set the original game on Mars in the first place. But either way, the UAC gets the bright idea to start experimenting with hell energy, and as you could imagine, it ends up in disaster. Somebody fucks up, and demons invade through a portal, killing pretty much every single person on the station except for Doomguy, who was out taking a piss break or something, I don't know. Being the only guy left alive, Doomguy says, fuck it, I'm just gonna kill every demon here and close the portal my goddamn self. So that's what he sets out to do, making his way through different sectors to the portal, where he kills all the demons he can find. Unfortunately for him, trying to close it means stepping through it, and in doing so he's jumped by demons and blacks out, as hell starts to take over the base. That's the basic summary of episode 1. Most of the team at the time felt like story didn't matter, which is why they threw out the one team member who put so much emphasis on the story. This is something boomers love to brag about as some kind of positive, and arguably at the time it probably was. Simple, effective, non-intrusive, and focused on the action, and it worked. But in retrospect, a little game called Half-Life is gonna come out, dick slap them in the face, and make them really regret this mindset in a few years. And you will feel the effects on how nervous Half-Life made them and how they needed to backpedal on this way of thinking and start improving their story presentation in later games to keep up with the industry, while keeping its action present that everyone fell in love with. For right now, in 1993, it works for one reason, and that is the fucking addicting and outstanding gameplay loop of Doom. This is what has kept Doom thriving for so long. Its roster of monsters and its focus on action. Shoot it until it's fucking dead is the name of the game here. It's a timeless, tried and true formula every good first-person shooter follows with no compromise. They keep coming, you keep shooting. Dead simple. This is not the kind of game for a soy-fed games critic or journalist who doesn't understand what the fuck a gameplay loop is, and finds things repetitive. That's what the fuck a loop is, repetition. Repetitively press the fucking fire button, nigga, there's demons to slay. Doom's roster of monsters is small, but effective when used properly. Zombie men are possessed humans under Hell's control that are too far gone and have to be put down. Shoot till dead. They come in two forms in Doom WAD, regular riflemen and shotgunners. Shotgunners hurt like a motherfucker if you're not careful, so they are priority targets. Imps are humanoid in shape grunts from hell that throw fireballs and claw at you. Shoot till dead. Unlike the human-based enemies, most monsters from imps and up throw projectiles that you can dodge by strafing around them. So the name of the game here is dancing and dodging around enemies, coined circle strafing, and picking them off smartly. Next up is Pinky Demons. Think of them as Hell's puppies. They come in two forms, solid in pink and invisible. Shoot till dead or chainsaw to death if you're feeling a little frisky. After that is Caca Demons. Insufferable bullet sponge bitches that every map pack maker in the Doom community loves to spam. I used to love Caca Demons and think they were adorable. And then I played Sigil. And as soon as I hear one these days, I'm traumatized and I die inside. Shoot till dead. Rockets recommended to save your sanity or plasma. Shotgun works too, but they take so fucking long to kill until the holy weapon of Doom 2 that you'll be fighting falling asleep in Doom 1. Next up, Baron of Hell. These motherfuckers are tough, tanky, and the strongest basic enemy you can run into. Think of them as imps with a gem membership. Shoot till dead. Try not to get hit by them at all costs. That shit will hurt. Oh god, I'm forgetting one. The worst thing mankind has ever invented, the goddamn Lost Soul. Whoever the fuck at id conjured up this annoying little bitch deserves life in prison. I cannot fucking stand Lost Souls. They just fly around and they bite you over and over and take way more damage than they should to kill. Their entire existence makes you not want to exist at all. Who the fuck did this? I bet it was John Carmack. Speaking of which, if I'm lying, I'm dying. But John Carmack actually lives near my job. And I fumbled the bag hard. So one day, I'm at work and I see this guy in glasses walk in. And I'm like, damn, I swear I know him from somewhere. But in my brain, I'm thinking he had to be like an old teacher from my school days or something. I ask him if he has a membership with us, yada 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 yada. The name J. Carmack flashes across my screen, and I still cannot put my finger on who I'm looking at. But I drop it. A month or two later, I'm talking to one of these moms I know who's a regular customer here, and she sees my Doom shirt I'm wearing that day at work. And then she says her son goes to the nearby school and is friends with the son of one of the guys who made Doom. And then it hit me. The fucking John Carmack was standing right in front of me for 10 minutes that day. Civvy, I'm sorry, bro. I don't know what the fuck happened. Don't ask me how I fucked up probably one of the greatest moments of my life. It keeps me up at night. From what I understand and what she told me, he's really into VR these days or some shit, and that's what he's doing his research on now. I haven't seen him since that day, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago, so he may have moved, but yeah, needless to say, I'm devastated I didn't piece it together when he was there in the store. Moving on to the game's arsenal, you start with the pistol. It's dog shit. Only use it until you pick up the Doom workhorse, the shotgun. In most games, the shotgun is a devastating but situational weapon that either has dog shit range or should be reserved for tough foes. In Doom, it is your best friend. Old reliable. Kills most fodder, like the zombie men and imps, in 1 to 2 shots, depending on this game's bizarre RNG mechanics. And does decent damage against mostly everything. The only reason I don't recommend it on Cacos is because they tend to be spammed in groups and are spongy, but it absolutely works. And Barons are so spongy that it's easy to fuck up and make a mistake and get hit, but if you're on your A game at all times and completely locked in, it can work fine for them. Next up, the chain gun. Think of it as the pistol, but not dog shit, since they take the same ammo. Basically the game's assault rifle. Great at crowd control, great at stun locking, but eats through ammo pretty quickly. Rocket launcher, self-explanatory. Works good on the tough stuff, fucks up the weak stuff bad. Be careful with it, as Lost Souls and Pinky Demons love to get in the fucking way while trying to use it. And with the game's shitty auto-aim system, if you're trying to peek corners, there are times when it cannot kick in randomly and shoot the wall and kill you. Plasma gun, the chain gun but better. So good, some people would rather use this on bosses than try to rocket them to death. And last but not least, we can't forget about Doom's mascot weapon, the BFG 9000. It takes the same ammo as the plasma gun, so I tend to save the ammo for this thing. Shoots a giant ball of energy and a bunch of invisible lasers that molest everything in the room to death. Will save you a lot of headaches when it comes to not wanting to deal with shit. It's not always a consistent one-shot owing again to Doom's dumbass RNG calculator, but it is without a doubt the strongest weapon in the game. This lineup of weapons is so iconic that it pretty much makes up the weapon roster for almost every boomer shooter you can buy today, with variations here and there. If the formula ain't broke, don't try to fix it. And this shit is clearly timeless, with not a drop of flavor lost. Before you know it, you're running around mowing down the hordes of hell with your own preferred methods to take them down. That's the magic of Doom and why it is still effective today. This shit puts you in a trance of extreme lock-in, and you can do this for hours and hours and hours and just never get bored. Unless you're a soy-fed gaming journalist who absolutely needs something different to do every 5 minutes or your brain is gonna melt off the stick. Once you're in this demon-killing trance, you pretty much don't leave until the game forces you out of it. The problem with Doom is that unfortunately, due to the nature of being an ancient-ass game, it has a bad habit of taking you out of it. That leads me to the downsides of classic Doom games, and that is the level design. See, the problem is that this game predates the idea of cohesive, structured worlds. How this shit used to work in the 90s is that the dev teams would each be in charge of maps at random and just cobble them all together with no real ground rules on the do's and don'ts as far as logic. In most levels, there's typically a set of red, blue, or yellow keys that you need to find to progress through the map. While you're looking, you're blowing away anything that so much as breathes that isn't you. The killing and the running and gunning is the fun, the key hunting, not so much. Levels are essentially just giant mazes filled with monsters. If you can't find the key, you ain't getting out. And even if you do find the key, you need to hunt for the door or switch it goes to. Throughout the stages, there are hazards and traps in the form of acid floors, crushing ceilings, explosive barrels which can be turned on your enemies, and all other sorts of tomfoolery. The actual problem here, like I said, is that Doom's levels are really an anthology of different people making them and stitching them together. So because there are no rules for this sort of shit, the logic here is all over the fucking place. You could go into a level with a red floor or pool and stepping on it will hurt you, then you'll go into another level and these same things don't hurt you. In some levels, blue water is completely safe, and in others, you'll take damage from it. A wall texture can be just that, and be absolutely nothing to pay attention to in one level, but that same texture placed in a different level is actually a door or a switch this time, that you need to press or shoot to progress. It's a fucking mess. My biggest pet peeve is map makers who think it's a good idea to place a switch or a key in a random ass corner or cave of a damaging area. There are even maps where you fall into these and they are basically inescapable. You just fall in with no way out and fucking die. Things are a certain way when it comes to level design until they aren't. Do not get me started on maps where whoever made it decided to lock progression behind finding a fucking keycard or a teleporter that is hidden in a secret or something. That should absolutely never happen. As you play more and more maps and community creations, this shit starts to get on your nerves more and more. Like, getting lost just based off the maze-like design of levels is one thing. Yeah, that's annoying and all, but due to the nature of older boomer shooter design, that's bound to happen no matter what game you're playing. I can get over that. The fun of blasting away everything in the levels is enough to make it worth it. But when I'm running around a level for 20 to 30 minutes before I finally get fed up, look up the level on YouTube and find out I'm supposed to shoot a fucking wall to beat it, is when shit has gone too far. I mentioned secrets a bit earlier. Throughout the levels you can find pickups. Ammo, health, and armor are most common. But there's other special stuff like super health pickups that overcharge your health to 200, super armor that does the same for that, berserk packs that buff your melee damage from your fists if you're looking to conserve ammo. Don't be fooled by the red flash going away. If you're used to more modern Doom games where it's a fuck up everything for a brief time tool, then you can be a little misled. The power up actually lasts the whole level. Not technically, as discovered by resident Doom scientist Decino, but realistically it does. There's also night vision goggles to help you deal with the shitty 1993 lighting in darker areas of the game, and an auto map that has honestly never been that useful to me. It's just a bunch of lines and shit that's hard for me to read. It can be a bit helpful for finding secrets and telling you where color-coded keycard doors are, but it doesn't really tell you where any of the keys or switches are located. Your mileage may vary. A lot of OG Doom veterans seems to find it helpful, but in almost a decade of dooming, I have always found it both hideous and unhelpful. The one in Doom 64 is a bit better, but it won't really be until the modern Doom games that the map is really all that great. You will still be plenty lost in this shit using it, don't get excited. There's also stuff like invincibility spheres, invisible spheres, rad suits that help you walk on hazardous shit for a bit. All of these power-ups and tools can be found in general play, but a lot of others can be found in secrets in the form of hidden doors and teleporters. One of my favorites of which being the backpack that doubles your ammo counts. Secrets will also house weapons that you can get a little earlier than you naturally would just from level progression. Like I said earlier, I know some of them, but there's a lot that I don't. Some of these secrets are fine and logical, others are not. Like, when I need to open a door or walk in a certain spot that will then open up a random secret part of a wall and a lava pit that I need to rush over to real fast before it closes again, that's when we're doing too much for me. No fucking thanks, I'll stick with what I have. The other problems are more general due to age. Like, Doomguy for some reason cannot jump or look up and down. Enemies can't really be hit until they're in camera shot, but they can hit and shoot you just fine. So if the idea of dealing with hit scanning enemies perched high up on balconies and mountains who you can't see because you can't look up or down and need to fiddle with to get in the camera for the auto aim to finally be aware, while they've been riddling you with bullets sounds like a fucking headache, it is. If the idea of not being able to jump in levels on ass-tight thin ledges where a single miscalculation can lead to falling into an acid pool below sounds fucking annoying, it is. I will also just never get over the idea that this peak of manliness killing machine that has slayed over 1 million demons over the course of his lifespan is stopped in his tracks by any ledge that requires more than a casual step to get over. It is so silly. This man can crush a Baron of Hell's head into paste with his bare hands, but can't lift his leg up more than 2 feet. A lot of these things like this you would expect to be here, like a jump button and free aim, won't really be added until it releases the next game, Quake, which is pretty much just Doom with a jump button. The last annoyance you need to get used to is how saving and dying works. When you die in the game, it loads you back to the start of a level with nothing but your pistol. Some people like this kind of thing and start every level this way. I have no idea why, but to each their own. Like, the maps are designed to be beatable just from the weapons you find in a level from pistol start, but fuck all that. For most people, especially new and more modern players, this shit will happen to you once, you will experience and be ready to uninstall this shit then and there. I don't blame you, I would too. The thing is, you actually have to manual save every time you reach a new level. Remember that, because since games don't do this anymore for good reason, it can be easy to get lost in the sauce of dooming, fuck up and die, and forget to save, and then get extremely pissed off when your last save point was in the middle of the last level. Most ways to play Doom today, like GZ Doom, will autosave when you beat a level, but Doom in its vanilla form doesn't do that. This really should have been a toggleable option in the settings in this new re-release, honestly. Also, you can save whenever you want at any time, even in the middle of fights, so take advantage of that. Best to save after you make a little progress, because Doom loves to jump you with monsters when you pick up a keycard or pull a switch or something, and redoing a level over is not fucking fun, so make sure you save as often as you can as you progress through. Now, we've talked about some good stuff, talked about some bad stuff. I'm sure some of the old heads are mad that I didn't kiss the game's ass when it comes to its age, but let's get back to talking about something else good that Doom is known for. The music. Doom's original soundtrack was made on something called a MIDI. I'm not old enough to know what the fuck that even is, but all you need to know is that it gives this game sort of an old retro 8-bit sounding vibe that you might find in like an old Final Fantasy game or something. That's the best way I can describe it. Adds to the charm of these old 90s 2D graphics. The thing about Doom is that it is based off a lot of metal that the devs love. I'm too young to know or appreciate any of the references in the songs. I'm a millennial metalhead, so most of the metal I like is heavy-tuned guitar chugging and sick breakdowns, whereas I've never really been too into all that old-school shredding and guitar solos and shit. You know, back in the day, my generation used to call this shit dad metal. But times have changed. And you probably won't believe this from looking at me, but I'm almost 30. So technically the shit I like has graduated to dad metal, and this older stuff like Slayer and Pantera and all this shit has become grandpa metal. Ho ho ho, I know someone's not gonna be happy I said that shit. Be that as it may, I think the MIDI soundtrack is good. My personal favorite of the bunch is probably Sign of Evil. But honestly, I think some of the MIDIs created by the community from newer map packs outshine some of this old stuff. They are fucking cooking these days. Have a listen to Sigil's first level on MIDI. Absolute ear candy. But we have been blessed, fellas. None of that matters anymore. Because the boys at id had honorary top tier nigga Andrew Holschult remake Doom 1 and Doom 2's entire soundtrack. Well, technically he only recently did Doom 2's for this port. He remade Doom 1's soundtrack forever ago. We've been rocking Doom 1 with it for years on PC, begging like a peasant for the day that he would do Doom 2's. And that day has finally come. The Doom 1 soundtrack he did was so good it pretty much kickstarted his entire career. He's been hired to do music for these kinds of games ever since. This soundtrack alone de-aged Doom by like 15 years and took the wrinkles off its face. Calling it good doesn't even do it justice, it belongs in a museum. When we're all worm food in the ground 2 million years from now, archaeologists will look back on this shit like they just walked in a cave and found uncut diamonds. The only reason I'm not using it in this playthrough is because I'm OCD about consistency. And because I'm going to be playing Sigil, that creates a problem for me where Doom 1 and Doom 2 is all metal, but Sigil 1 and 2 don't come with the soundtracks as of right now on the mod browser, they're all MIDI. It's not that the MIDIs are bad or anything, but Doom with real metal just sounds right, and it feels right, you know what I mean? Going from this fantastic remake of the soundtrack will always just be in the back of my mind as I'm going through Sigil as a jarring transition. You have to buy the versions from John Romero's website for the metal soundtrack versions, which I've already done, but that will require me to run them in GZ Doom to get them working. Since I'm reviewing this port of the game, I can't really do that, as much as it pains me, and oh fucking boy does it really pain me, so I have to just let the soundtrack go, and go full MIDI for consistency's sake. I will never fucking do this again because I have no real reason to play this port over GZ Doom with all my favorite mods, with jumping, with free look, and all the metal soundtracks intact, but I played this official port for you guys on console who just have to play regular ass vanilla Doom. Now we've talked about the shit I like and don't like, but I want to stress that I think that the highs more than overshadow the lows for me. Doom is more than a little old, obviously. So these guys had no concept of where the gaming landscape would go when they were doing some of the shit that they were doing. A lot of this shit that's wrong here will be thrown out as id makes more games, refines their crafts, and adapts, going from a group of guys in a small ass studio to a megastar game development giant. Keeping the stuff that works and throwing out the more problematic and annoying shit that they do here. But for every time that you get lost thanks to a garbage idea for how to progress, or fall into a lava pit and get irritated, or open a door into a face full of lost souls and literally want to go pause the game and jump off a fucking building, there's even more where you open a door or turn a corner, and all is forgiven as you are having a hella good time, and that's what makes this game great. Now, as far as Knee Deep in the Dead goes, as an episode, it's considered to be the best episode of Doom 1 by far, and for a good reason. Pretty much the game's entire roster of basic enemies is introduced to you here. All of the level design and logic makes sense. It's easy to follow, easy to play, easy to understand, and all of it just flows together nicely. It's pretty much as perfect as a Doom episode can get. Most of the bad shit isn't present here to get on your nerves, besides maybe one inescapable death pit or two. It never switches up what does and doesn't hurt you or anything like that. And from what I understand, it was made mostly by John Romero himself, and that's why he's held in such high regard today. Making the most popular and beloved map set in Doom history does that to you. It's in episode 2, The Shores of Hell, where we start to see a bit of a dip in quality. The story here goes that Doomguy comes to as Hell and the base start to merge into one unrecognizable mess. With no other real option than to keep killing, that's what he does until he can find some kind of way to stop this. This puts him into the crosshairs of the Cyber Demon, a big dog in the demon food chain. The fight with this thing is one of Doom's biggest moments. Your rocket launcher versus his. You can technically use what you want, but you're nudged into using the rocket launcher. And killing him, Doomguy learns that the source of Hell's invasion comes from deeper within Hell itself. Episode 2 itself isn't that bad, it's just that compared to episode 1, it's a bit of a step down. Some of the bad parts about Doom start to come into play as you get further in. The levels start to get more convoluted and confusing to navigate as more people dip their hands into making them, more traps, crushing ceilings, that sort of thing. The other problem with it, you'll notice, is that starting it wipes away all your weapons back to a pistol start. Yeah, this is kind of the reason that as much as I love Doom 1, I tend to prefer Doom 2. Every time you start the next episode, you have to start from square one with nothing on you. And it just becomes a buzzkill for me. A lot of boomer shooters like this, even the ones that come out today, follow Doom 1's episodic way of taking all your shit away, instead of Doom 2's method of just making a giant progressive game to play. And for fuck's sake, please stop. Episode 3, Inferno, is the final release for the original version of Doom. It sees Doomguy descend into Hell looking for the source of the invasion, making his way through it until he finds the Spider Mastermind, who he assumes is the overarching big bad. It has a hit-scanning fucking chain gun to shoot you with, but you can bring it down with the BFG pretty quickly. With it dead, he assumes that he won. The problem? The Spider Mastermind was only in charge of the invasion on the moon. While Doomguy was distracted, it took the opportunity to send a wave to invade Earth. And when Doomguy steps back into the portal to get back there, he's too late. It's chaos out here. And Hell's forces have personally killed his pet rabbit to get back at him. If you ask me, episode 3 is by far the weakest episode of Doom. I like tech-based maps a lot more than I like Hell maps, so maybe that's part of it, but a lot of my least favorite levels come from episode 3. They're the most maze-like, the most gimmicky, and the most tedious to get through. I always forget where the blue key is in map 3 if I haven't played it in a while. Level 5 is just straight up fucking awful. I don't know who decided trial and error teleporters that send you back to the same room if you guess wrong was a good idea. Level 6 isn't any better because whoever made it decided that shooting at random walls that are secretly switches so that you can exit the level through a damaging lava sea was peak map design. And level 7 requires you to remember which teleporter takes you where to complete it. If not, enjoy trudging across a sea of lava over and over trying to figure out which switch that you missed per teleporter. The game definitely does not save its best work for last, that's for sure. There's one more official episode to get through, and that's episode 4, Thy Flesh Consumed. This picks up right after Doomguy takes the portal back to Earth after killing the Spider Mastermind, so don't ask me why it still looks like it's set in Hell, because I can't tell you. This episode was made after Doom 2 released, and it's clear it was just kind of thrown together to sell Doom 1 again as Ultimate Doom. In fact, there's not even a new boss, it's just the Spider Mastermind again. The story is pretty much just Doomguy gets to Earth, kills some demons, and then thinks about how mad he is that they killed his pet rabbit. Nothing really substantial happens. Episode 4 has a reputation for being kind of bullshit and too hard. That's warranted a bit, but especially in the first 2 levels. Level 1's only hard because you're forced to pistol start it, and because they have Doom 2 on the brain, it's made with placements like you have a super shotgun when you don't. So it's doing stupid shit like letting monsters shoot you through fake walls. Level 2 is only really tough because of the Baron spam and the shit platforming over acid pits below with like one rad suit in the entire level. Outside of that, I'd say most of the levels are fine and a bit better made than episode 3's. Minus level 6, which is just another gimmicky teleporter one, where your only 2 options for fighting the cyber demon at the end of it are being up close to it or across the screen from it with your back up against a wall where you take splash damage from even dodging the rockets. Never liked this map. But that's every original Doom 1 episode we had for like decades. I love Doom 1, but I think it's way better in its first half than its second. The maps start getting too gimmicky and dragging along for my liking. Overall, still a pretty good start to a franchise, and it was a massive hit. but these days, I kinda just think of it as the Doom game I have to play without the super shotgun. And this would be where I move on to Doom 2, if not for John Romero releasing 2 more episodes to Doom 1, called Sigil 1 and Sigil 2. Now, technically they're not official, but it's John fucking Romero. That's about as official as it can get. Think of these the way you would think of DLC today, like the Ancient God expansions for Doom Eternal or something. Sigil 1 starts us with Doomguy getting tricked by Bahamut, or the name he's most known for in Doom, the Icon of Sin, into taking a teleporter back to Hell so that they can better take over Earth without him interfering, which just leads to him killing a bunch of demons until he finds a teleporter that he thinks will take him back out. It's really as simple as that. Unfortunately, Sigil tends to be a bit divisive. Some people love it, and some people can't stand it. I've never been too hot for it myself in its vanilla form. It's about as hard as Episode 4, which is fine. But its biggest problem is that it's made in a world where Doom 2 exists, and it's designed like it's Doom 2, but it's a Doom 1 episode. So that really doesn't leave Romero much to work with when it comes to the monsters he can place in a level. So that leaves Baron of Hells and Cacodemons to work overtime. There is so much Cacodemon and Baron spam that it drove me mad. Shotgunning 7 Cacodemons to death in a room was putting me to sleep. I don't think Sigil is too bad in terms of difficulty, it's just that it is unbelievably tedious to get through sometimes. He places Barons in levels like they're Hell Knights and not Barons. I get why all these Barons mentally broke G-Man Lives when he reviewed this game, cause I have never missed a super shotgun more than I did playing through Sigil. Add to that some weird decisions like putting you on narrow platforms, throwing a handful of Cacodemons at you. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here to avoid damage if it shoots a fireball straight? I can't go anywhere. There's zero room to maneuver. I just wasn't the biggest fan. Sigil is also just too dark for its own good in terms of lighting. As you get further and further into levels, you will be able to see less and less. To its credit, the dark lighting is pretty cool over the red pulsing lines on the floor. The episodes look great by Doom standards, but I think these are episodes that I enjoy much more in source ports with mods like flashlights than I do vanilla, because by level 4 I was already kind of bored with it. But like I said, I don't think that all of Sigil's faults are John Romero's, but more so the fault of Doom 1's limited roster. And it is still John Romero, so his map design and logic is very consistent compared to the other clusterfucks you get in some of the other maps made by other people. Floors that you expect to be damaging or safe typically are. The switches that you need to shoot to progress are conveyed to you from the start in the very first room, and are consistent. The maps aren't too confusing to get through, minus maybe 1 or 2, and you can still kind of feel that this is the same guy that made Knee Deep in the Dead. It's just that I feel that Doom 2 is where you can start to get a little more creative and crazy, whereas Doom 1's levels need to be balanced in a very specific way to be enjoyable. And Sigil starts to step over that line a bit, though I can't blame the guy for wanting to go all in. Doom has grown in terms of expectations and creativity in the map making community by decades since he last dipped his toes in it, and it's only natural for him to get excited and carried away a bit. Anyway, Sigil 2's story revolves around the Icon of Sin's tricking Doomguy yet again by messing with the teleporter he took to send him even further into hell instead of out of it. Maybe I'm just used to it by Sigil 2, but the map design feels overall a lot better than Sigil 1's in my opinion, and I can't put my finger on why. Though at one point I did fall into an inescapable toxic pit, so I wasn't too happy about that, and I was not restarting this fucking level again either, so I no-clip that shit, I don't care. The maps are just as beautiful and well made as Sigil 1 in terms of detail and layout, but after shotgunning my 900th Baron of Hell to death, I was an empty gas tank autopiloting through the shit with no emotion left. The final stage is probably one of his best works in terms of sheer beauty in the level design. It's just the shame that the final boss fight is a bit of a miss. It's a room with 2 cyber demons. The goal is to try to make them fight the spider mastermind he quadrupled the health of in the center that just will not fucking die. I forgot to mention this earlier in the script, but certain enemies you can trick into fighting each other if one shoots another. It's called monster infighting. Not too prevalent in the modern Doom games, but very useful in these. The thing is, the Spider Mastermind here, because his health is buffed, just feels like he will not fucking die. This thing took forever to kill. Cyber Demon rockets can be dodged. A Spider Mastermind is all hit scanned attacks. so as long as it sees you, it pretty much never misses. And there is no cover anywhere. Your only escape is running in and out of the teleporter. I have no idea why he buffed this thing like this, but I didn't like it. Then, after molesting you with this, he has the audacity to make the next and final room filled with even more cacodemons and barons, and inescapable pits for you to fall in, and have to redo the entire fucking level. I almost got out of my chair when I saw this, and threw my hairdryer into the bathtub and jumped in. And that concludes Sigil 2, and the Icon of Sin pretty much gives up, focuses all its attention back on invading Earth, and Romero teases us with his next project, Hellion, which I guess will be a prequel to Doom 2. Like I said, Sigil isn't everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people considered it a disappointment, but a lot of people were on board with it as well. It is not awful by any means, but for me, there is just this unshakable feeling that it is a Doom 2 expansion stuck in Doom 1. And because of that, while the maps themselves are pretty good, shooting barons and cacodemons to death over and over and over for hours because he has pretty much nothing else he can use was having me up at 2 AM recording footage of it, trying not to fall asleep. I don't think the things that are wrong with it are necessarily all his fault, so I'm pretty excited to see what he can do with Hellion and Doom 2's entire roster on offer. But with that, let's move on to Doom 2 itself, shall we? I know I said I would stop doing games in bundled videos for the most part because it delays when I can get videos out by quite a bit, but in Doom 2's case, this will be pretty easy, cause it is literally just Doom 1 again with some new monsters and like one new gun. This is fine with me. I always believe if some shit ain't broke, don't try to fix it. But I do find it funny the amount of times I've watched someone like G-Man Lives or some other YouTube personality that also loves boomer shooters talk trash about stuff like Call of Duty or Far Cry or something as being the same game as last time with minor stuff added, and blah blah blah, and their favorite games are essentially the same way. But they get away with it because of nostalgia or some shit, I guess. Then it's okay. Once again, for me, not really a problem. I don't mind when a sequel is a little different if I'm into it, especially when what it was doing before wasn't really my flavor. I'll take a modern action RPG Final Fantasy game over the old turn-based ones any day of the week, for example. But when I buy a fucking sequel to a game that I liked, it's probably because I liked the last game. So when I see Doom 2, it's probably in my mind, golly gee, I like Doom 1. This is probably going to be more of that. There is a reason that most franchises play it safe when it comes to sequels, because it's a lot safer and logical to give the guy who wants more of the experience he had with the previous game more of what he wants and stay foolproof than it is to reinvent the wheel to please the former, not the later, when they spend their money. And you take a risk trying to be so different, you end up fucking up something and pissing people off. Doom Eternal. And you can put yourself in a position where people have to wait for the next game for you to backpedal on what they didn't like and unfuck up what you probably should have just left alone. So what exactly is new here anyway? Well, there's new monsters. All of the old ones return, but to complement, there's some new additions. The Chain Gunner is an annoying hit scanning piece of shit that fires at you, constantly deleting your health bar in seconds. Shoot till dead. Always a priority target. I don't give a fuck what else is in the room with you, kill them first or break their line of sight, otherwise you will regret it. In addition to him, we have the Hell Knight, probably the best addition to the game in terms of adding variety without being fucking infuriating to deal with. They're just Barons of Hell with half the health. They hit just as hard and have all the same attacks, so they're just as deadly but can be placed more often while maintaining decent map balancing. Shoot till dead. Next up, Revenants. These annoying little bitches fire rockets at you that can home in on you no matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you are behind a wall, they will circle around and chase you until they collide with something. And these rockets hurt like a motherfucker. I cannot stand these things. I hate them more than pretty much any other monster in Doom's library because of how much they are spammed by the mapping community. I don't know what it is, but map makers love these things. These and cacodemons are placed everywhere. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're the most adorable to look at, and since they don't want to be seen as lazy for placing nothing but zombie men everywhere, I guess the most logical middle ground is Revenants and Cacodemons. Speaking of which, meet the Cacodemon's annoying ass little bitch-made brother, the Pain Elemental. Imagine a Cacodemon that shoots lost souls instead of fireballs, and then when it dies, it explodes into even more lost souls. Whoever designed this abomination deserves prison time. Shoot until fucking dead and keep firing. The Mancubus is up next. They're fat boys who shoot heavy-hitting fireballs at you. Treat with bullet. Then we have the Archvile. These guys get a lot of hate. People can't stand them. They fire a flame attack that will absolutely shred you. The only way to avoid it is to find something to block their line of sight, otherwise there is no escape. They do insane damage. They can revive other monsters you killed on the battlefield, so they're priority targets as well. Treat with more bullets. Oh, and I guess I forgot to mention the Arachnotron. Mini spider masterminds that fire energy projectiles instead of hit scanning bullets because someone designed them with some goddamn sense this time around. Shoot till dead. As you've probably heard, I'm not too fond of most of Doom's new monsters individually, as most of them are pains in the ass taken at face value. But having to play Sigil 1 and 2 will make you understand just how important they are in terms of giving you variety in threats to deal with and fight. And as annoying as they are perfectly balanced out by the one and only new gun that Doom 2 has, the Super Shotgun. The Super Shotgun is a magnificent work of art by some of the world's greatest minds that fires double what the traditional shotgun fires for a fraction of the cost in the single shotgun's firing speed. This thing is one of the most beautiful, majestic weapons ever put into a video game. It is unbelievably good. You can pretty much throw the other shotgun in the trash as it's worthless now. Maybe you can argue you can find a use for it if your shells are starting to get a little too low, but unlike a particular game, Doom Eternal, you aren't really in a drought for ammo here. This thing is likely going to be your go-to gun now. Waves and waves of enemies will be obliterated by it in 1 to 2 shots. It sounds good, it feels good, it is perfection. With this in your hands, old school Doom goes from a pretty alright game for how old it is to absolute fucking ecstasy. It can kill anything. A weapon so legendary that any boomer shooter trying to boom and shoot typically has one. And if it doesn't have one, it typically has a damn good reason why. It's the kind of gun someone like Under the Mayo hates. If Under the Mayo had his way with Doom 2 Super Shotgun, it would take 10 shells to shoot, the reload animation would be 10 times as long, and it would break after 10 uses to force you off of it. Let me put it to you like this. The Doom 2 Super Shotgun isn't always the best tool for the job, but it is never the wrong tool for the job. It will get it done as long as you keep your wits about you, and as long as you keep circle strafing and keep shooting. Whatever it is, it will be dead sooner than you know. There's also a new power-up or two, the only of which worth mentioning is the one that charges both health and armor to 200. Also worth mentioning is that episodic shit is done with. It's a continuous straight shot all the way through the game's levels, so long as you don't pistol start on purpose. Which is why I tend to like Doom 2 more than I like Doom 1, even if I think Doom 2's maps as a package are worse than 1. Much more annoying gimmicky shit in the level design this time around. So, story-wise, the way the game starts, Doomguy is headed to the nearby starport to get a lay of the land, and what he sees he doesn't like. Hell has set up an outpost that he needs to double-barrel his way through, to free Earth's population that is being held hostage. A little silly, I know, but it's what, like 1994, 1995 now? Half-Life ain't here yet, so this is what we got to work with as far as plot. When he frees all the hostages, it allows Earth's population to evacuate the planet, and Earth Control beams him a message that the demon invasion source is coming from Doomguy's home city, not too far off from his location, so he treks his way there. These city levels are notorious for looking like absolute dog shit, and getting a lot of hate these days. I think I watched like one video where a guy was trying to defend them and talk about the hotel he loves here. Nigga, this looks like a hotel to you? I mean, I guess if I squint hard enough, this one kinda looks like a library. But nah, these levels are mostly hideous. If you compare it to Duke Nukem 3D, which was like Doom's biggest arch nemesis at this time, the difference is pretty much night and day. By this point, the cracks in id's old engine compared to what was starting to show up to compete with them was pretty exposed to the world. But it'll do for right now. The Super Shotgun more than makes up for the game looking like this. The maps also start to take a noticeable dip for me at this point in the story. I fucking hate the Citadel with a passion. I get fucking lost every time I replay this. Switches and teleporters that go every which way. A confusing clusterfuck of nonsense since Doomguy still of course can't fucking jump. This map can fuck right off. I guess watching the Spider Mastermind and the Cyber Demon go at it is pretty cool in the map right after this though. Starting with Doom 3 and up, Cyber Demons and other bosses are treated with respect like actual big bosses like you would expect out of most games. But here in Classic Doom, they're kinda just sprinkled in wherever, which I think definitely takes away from their big bad status, so I'm glad they stopped doing this in later games, but it was a different time back then. Doomguy fights his way to the heart of his city for the final stretch, where he finds the head of Hell's forces himself, the Icon of Sin. He doesn't really do much himself besides spit monsters onto the level to try to kill you. The gimmick here to kill him is that you have to call up an elevator to try to aim rockets into his brain on his head, which is secretly just John Romero's head behind a wall. Killing the Icon saves the day and Earth, and thus concludes Doom 2. Like Doom 1, I would say the later half of the levels is where it starts to drop off for me. Too many pits, too much teleporter guessing and all that. But as long as the level is filled with demons to kill, things can never go wrong. Doom 2 has 2 official expansions, both of which are really good, but not really worth talking about in too much detail for me, because they're not essential to canon, and they're really just more maps to play. The first of which is No End in Sight, which is really just more Doom 2 maps with some really good new textures and assets. The second is Legacy of Rust, which was made specifically for this new re-release, with even better maps and assets, a few new monsters and some new weapon replacements like a flamethrower that replaces the plasma gun, and the ballista from Doom Eternal that replaces the BFG. They're just excellent works. I really can't think of much I didn't like about them, besides maybe map 6 of Legacy of Rust, which is pretty awful. But otherwise, it's just some good shit. I won't be covering Final Doom, I can't be fucked to. It's just a collection of map packs that John Romero got drunk and signed off on making an official release from what I understand. Not really canon to the lore, just more Doom to play. And speaking of more Doom to play, let's talk about what has kept these games alive for so long, the modding scene. Doom's modding scene is pretty much on par, if not better than what you would get out of a Bethesda modding scene. Typically, for games, I wouldn't really discuss modding unless the community is big enough to warrant, because the console experience is typically the way the majority of gamers will play something. But this is definitely worth the discussion. Almost anything you do like about Doom you can enhance, or anything you don't like about Doom you can take out and replace. Don't like the 2D sprites? There's mods for that. Think running around with guns that don't need to reload is a bit silly? There's a mod for that. Don't like the centered aiming? There's mods for that. In fact, I use it with Quake. For some reason wish the game was harder? Mods for that. Smoothing out the chunky animation frames? Mods that turn Doom 1 into a complete continuous experience like Doom 2? Mods that add in new weapons, new mechanics like dodge rolling, aim down sights? If you can dream it, there's probably a mod for it. There's total conversion mods that completely change Doom into a new game. Ashes 2063, for example, is pretty much an entirely different game with quality comparable to pretty much every other boomer shooter you can buy, entirely for free. And that's to say nothing of the Doom mapping community. There is so much to play here. Maps that emulate the vanilla design philosophy of Doom, to slaughter maps with like 2,000 enemies in levels. I've never been a slaughter map fan, but I know it has its fans. There's just an endless sea of Doom to play, and I'm not joking when I say, if you're on a budget, there's enough Doom to play in various shapes or forms to keep you occupied and saving money for months to years depending on what you're into. Me? I can just download a map pack like Doom the Way It Did or Back to Saturn, slap Brutal Doom or Project Brutality on that bad boy, depending on what I'm feeling at the moment, and just play for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. I could do this shit all day and never get bored. Here's the thing. You get some of a taste of what modded Doom has to offer as far as map packs and turtle conversions on this new official release. But not everything. There's so much more to offer you in the community. But this new re-release is just fine for people who are going to be coming from the newer Doom trilogy and just want to see what the older games are like. You will still have a good Doom experience with these ports. They're very good. They are painfully vanilla, but that is the intention behind them. There are a couple of new optional features like options to make the game brighter in some of the dark ass rooms, options to turn on whatever cheat you need if something is getting too difficult for you, and a Doom Vault where you can view assets and learn about how the game was made and stuff that was changed. Doom will run on the most bare bones PC hardware, but even then, if you don't want to fuck with the complications of modding tutorials, and yes, there are a lot of PC players that are like that, and they have every fucking right to be, this is pretty much as good as you could ever want it to get. I want to say though, if you try this port and you still can't get into classic Doom games and you just don't like it, don't think it's very good, that's completely fine. Doom has evolved and come a very long way since these days. I would argue that you absolutely can tailor it to suit your taste as far as gameplay and combat, But there is nothing you can really do to sidestep some of the problems with the level design and some of the maps that aren't all that great. Do not let some of the more older, elitist, farm warrior ass parts of the fan base try to blabber on about how you're not playing real Doom, you're not a real Doom fan if you don't like the old games, blah blah blah, yada fucking yada. A lot of long-running franchises have a bunch of people like this who feel entitled and say shit like, oh, without this game, none of the other stuff would exist. And while that's technically true, the wheel came before the fucking automobile. And bitch, I don't see you riding a fucking unicycle to work every goddamn day, so miss me with the bullshit. Always remember, you don't owe these people or anybody shit, really. Play Doom the way you like it, and fuck whoever doesn't like it. Cause they can't whoop your ass over it. People weren't debating over whether Quake was better than Doom, whether Doom was better than Duke Nukem 3D, whether Half-Life was better, and all that for no reason. The bottom line is, Doom is Doom. In its vanilla form, it's great. It's not perfect, but you can load it up and still have a good time. It's the groundwork for most boomer shooters, it's the groundwork for most first-person shooters, but I keep shit real, it's still an old-ass game. With a lot of stuff you might expect to be able to do, but can't really do, without going out of your way from plug and play just to bring mods into the equation. That said, no matter how the mechanics and design around Doom age and reshape even today, the simple and effective mindset of running and gunning and shoot everything until it's fucking dead is such a flawless, timeless concept that you can still load this up and have a good time. It's aged, clearly. Anybody who's trying to argue otherwise is just straight up fucking delusional, but it's aged pretty well compared to a lot of other genres that have been called old or outdated, and I would say it is much easier to get into in comparison to those, and I still love it to death. As a matter of fact, I have a buddy named Nash Muhandes who's done a lot of work on modding Doom and made a name for himself. I knew the guy in our teenage years thanks to various bands he's been in, music he's made, produced, the works, but he's also a Doom modder who's making his own new game. Funny how this life shit works, it's a small world. As I also have another friend who plays and streams Tekken, like me, that I went to actual school with. Also, in a small world, it's also cool to be one of the few people who have just casually run into John Carmack, even if I was too fucking stupid to realize it was him at the time. Anyway, thanks for watching. Next up on the menu is probably Silent Hill 2, and of course more Doom, as we'll take a look at Doom 64, since it's both canon and crucial to the modern Doom game plot. I'll see you guys around.